All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're talking about something incredible, a lost human species. And their discovery, it has completely turned what we thought we knew about our own history right on its head. For most of history, we've had this pretty simple story, right? Homo sapiens showed up, and eventually we were the only humans left on the planet. But what if that's not the whole story? What if, for tens of thousands of years, we were actually sharing this world with another kind of human, maybe even a more advanced one? And here's the twist, the part that just changes everything. This lost branch of humanity, they're not completely gone. Not really. They left a piece of themselves behind, an echo, in the most personal place you can imagine, inside our own DNA. Okay, so section 1, a ghost in our DNA. You see, the first clue about these people didn't come from digging up old bones or finding some lost city. Nope. The first hint, it came from studying the DNA of people who are alive right now. So scientists are looking at genomes, and they find something weird. In people from places like Papua New Guinea, Tibet, Mongolia, and even Australia, they found that up to 5% of their DNA just didn't match anything they knew. It didn't come from any known human ancestor. It was like finding a ghost in the machine, a ghost in our very genome. And suddenly, the race was on to figure out who this mystery ancestor was. All right, section 2, the first tiny clue. To find the source of this ghost DNA, we got to go back in time. We're heading to 2008, to a really remote cave in Siberia. And it's there that a discovery, it was barely the size of a pebble, was about to cause a total earthquake in our understanding of who we are. So, back in 2008, archaeologists are working in this place called Denisova Cave, and they find this tiny little piece of a finger bone, just a fragment. They figured out it belonged to a young girl who lived there more than 50,000 years ago. The first thought? Okay, probably a Neanderthal. But then, in 2010, the DNA results came back, and they were absolutely shocking. It wasn't Neanderthal, and it wasn't one of us, a Homo sapien. It was something completely new. And so they named this new human lineage the Denisovans, right after the cave where this tiny bone was found. Look, the big takeaway here is that this one little bone just shattered our neat and tidy human family tree. We thought we had it all figured out, right? It was us and the Neanderthals. But this discovery, it's like suddenly there was a third major player in the game, a whole new branch of humanity that was walking the earth right alongside our ancestors. So, section 3, building a superhuman ancestor. And this is where it gets wild. With just a handful of tiny bone fragments, a few teeth, and a jawbone, scientists started this incredible detective work, trying to piece together who these people actually were. And the picture that started to emerge, well, it points to a truly remarkable, almost superhuman ancestor. Okay, just look at the physical evidence we have. It's astounding. Fossils suggest these Denisovans were incredibly robust. We're talking jaws maybe twice as thick as ours. But the real showstopper? Their brain size. Look at this comparison. Their skulls could hold a brain that was about 20% larger than ours. 20%. That's huge. And then there's what they left behind in our DNA. It's literally like a collection of superpowers they passed down. They gave some of our ancestors this special gene, the EPAS1 gene, that lets modern Tibetans live way up in the Himalayas with no problem. They handed down genes for a supercharged immune system. There's even evidence suggesting they aged slower, maybe living longer, healthier lives than we do. And to top it all off, their DNA hints at things like enhanced memory and pattern recognition. It's just truly remarkable. So when you put all these pieces together, right? A super strong body, a bigger brain, these amazing genetic gifts for surviving in extreme places, a killer immune system, and maybe even a longer life, you don't get a picture of some primitive caveman. What you get is a picture of an advanced, maybe even upgraded form of human, maybe even a true super civilization. Okay, moving on to section 4, echoes of lost technology. Because if you thought the bones in the DNA were crazy, wait till you hear this. The most mind-bending evidence for how advanced these people were isn't in their bodies, it's in the stuff they made. Okay, so back in that same Denisova cave, they found a bracelet, and when they dated it, it came back at a staggering 70,000 years old. 70,000. Now, this isn't just any old bracelet. This thing shows an incredible level of skill. It's carved from this rare, beautiful greenstone, and it's polished so well it shines. But here's the impossible part. There's a hole drilled through it, and it's perfectly straight. Experts look at this and say, the only way to do that is with a high-speed rotary drill. A kind of technology that our own ancestors wouldn't figure out for another 60,000 years. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah, there's this quote from an expert that just nails how shocking this is. Finding this bracelet, he said, is like finding a brand new iPhone inside an Egyptian pyramid. Think about that. It's an artifact that, by all accounts, simply shouldn't exist from that time. And it's not just the bracelet, it's not a one-off fluke. They also found the world's oldest known sewing needle. It's this delicate little thing, 50,000 years old, with a perfect eye carved in it for thread. What does that mean? It means they were tailoring clothes, making fitted garments, while our ancestors were still just, draping animal skins over their shoulders. They also made beautiful beads from ostrich eggs and even etched symbolic art onto stone. That kind of thing points to a sophisticated mind, maybe even complex language. And this leads to an even bigger, maybe more speculative question. All across the areas where we know Denisovans lived, Siberia, Mongolia, you find these massive stone structures, these megaliths, places like Mount Shoria with these giant, perfectly cut granite blocks. I'm talking about stones that weigh over 3,000 tons. That's way too heavy for even our best modern cranes to lift. Now, mainstream science often dismisses these as, natural formations, but they're right in the heart of Denisovan territory. So you have to ask, could these be the last remnants of their incredible engineering? All right, so let's get to the biggest question of all. Section 5, the Great Disappearance Mystery. If these Denisovans were so powerful, so smart, so advanced, where did they go? This is the final and maybe the greatest mystery of all. Well, there are basically two big theories floating around. Theory A is, it's pretty dark. It's prehistoric genocide. See, right around the time the Denisovans vanished from the fossil record, about 40,000 years ago, a new species starts moving into their territory. Us, Homo sapiens. We were more numerous, probably more aggressive, and it's possible we just wiped them out. Then there's Theory B. This one suggests they retreated from us, maybe moved into isolated mountain regions to get away. But then they were hit by a sudden, catastrophic climate event called the Younger Dryas, which is talking about 12,800 years ago, a time of massive floods and a deep freeze that hit the planet hard. It's possible that cataclysm just buried their civilization for good. The truth is, we might never know for sure what happened to them. But the story of the Denisovans proves one thing beyond a doubt. Our own history is so much more complex, so much more mysterious than we ever gave it credit for. And it leaves you with this one final thought, right? If one single tiny piece of a finger bone can completely rewrite the entire story of humanity, just imagine what other incredible secrets, what other lost worlds are still out there, just waiting to be found, buried right under our feet.